What's up guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about 3 easy steps that you can take in order to automate and outsource all of your guest communication for your short-term rental property. This way, guest communication will be completely off of your plate, and you as a short-term rental investor or property manager for that reason will be able to have this completely off your plate and not need to worry about the day-to-day minutia of actually responding to guest messages. Now, responding to guest messages is a really important part of the business. We're in the hospitality business after all, but it's not necessarily super high leverage. It's not like you're gonna make a whole bunch more money by responding to guests yourselves, as opposed to having someone else or a different tool or system do that for you. And it's also pretty inconvenient. Let's face it, guest communication is not something that you can just schedule in and do it at a specific time that works for you and your schedule. It happens whenever the guest needs it, and oftentimes that's at inopportune or inconvenient times that really impact your overall lifestyle. So for those reasons, I generally have people that I work with start to outsource and automate their guest communication as soon as possible. It's really one of the first things that we'll look to get off of an investor or property manager again, off of their plate after cleaning. Cleaning being the very first thing that you want to get off of your plate. So with that being said, let's talk about how you can actually get guest communication off of your plate in 3 easy steps. Now, the first piece is going to be automation. You really want to use tools like Hostaway or different guest messaging softwares. Now, Hostaway is a very robust one. It's actually a channel management software. Even Airbnb nowadays has a lot of automation that you can do with your guest messaging and quick replies that you can add to your messages, so that there's template messages. You just click one button and you can send it without having to type it out, because for a lot of the questions that guests are going to ask, you're going to have the exact same response every time. Like, for example, how do I get access to the Wi-Fi? So you want to automate as much as possible. We have a comprehensive list of all the automations and the quick replies that we set up for every property for things like check-in instructions. After the first night, we also like to check in with them, see how their stay is going. The night before they check out, we also like to give a pre-checkout message, and then after they check out, a post-checkout message asking for a 5-star review, those sorts of things. And so you can automate a lot of that stuff. Then we have quick replies that we use for a lot of the other stuff that is just questions and guest messages that come up very, very often, like how do you turn on the sauna, or how do you access the Wi-Fi, or things like that. And so that's gonna be the first step. But that's not going to get guest messaging off of your plate entirely. That's just going to make it a lot more efficient. Now, the reason I recommend starting there is because 1, it's better to do things efficiently than to just hand it off. But number 2, before you outsource anything, my recommendation is always to automate everything you can to make the process as efficient as possible, so that way you're not paying more for outsourcing just to have someone do manually what could be done by automation. So that's going to get you all the way there with your automation, but then it's a matter of actually outsourcing. And so that's where you really want to do 2 things. Now, number 1, it's going to be systemizing the role. If you don't already have one, you want to build a set of standard operating procedures, essentially an operations manual, if you will, for your guest communication team. And that should consist of some different tools for them to use as well to access key information about the property. Because anyone that you hire on to do guest communication for you isn't going to know all the intricate details and the ins and outs of your property the same way that you do. So you want to document those things so it's easy to then hand off the role. So after automating with software, the second step is then to document. Document. You want to have everything laid out in detail. So I recommend having a standard operating procedure, which would just be basically a Word document that outlines exactly what you're expecting for the role, how their tonality should be, how they should generally go about problem solving, things like that. And then you'll also want to have something like a property detail tracking spreadsheet where they can track all the different details about where the HVAC is located, how to turn on the hot water, how to turn on the hot tub, all these different things. And then another document separately for frequently asked questions, if you will. So that way, what's really nice is that as you bring a guest communication person on board, they'll then only have to ask you certain questions one single time, because they'll be able to constantly add to this frequently asked question document whenever they answer a new or novel question to them, so they can save that detail for later. And then once another guest asks it 6 months or a year from now, they can just reference back to the doc. I like to do these in Google Sheets because then it's easily searchable as well. So that's just an added bonus there. Then the third and then final step when it comes to getting guest communication completely off your plate is actually outsourcing so that you can have it completely hands off for yourself. And that's going to mean finding someone, likely a virtual assistant, who's going to actually take care of everything that automation can't take care of. And they're going to use those systems and that documentation that you created to be able to transition into that role really smoothly. Now, for finding this person, there's a few things that I want to look for. Guys, just want to take a quick break here to say that for those of you watching who want to build cash flow and long-term wealth by purchasing Airbnbs and short-term rental properties, there's a link in the description right down below for a free training that'll walk you through my exact strategy for investing successfully in Airbnbs. Now, if you're not ready to actually buy properties and you want to get started managing other people's properties on Airbnb, the same way I got started, and build a full-time income managing other people's properties, there's actually another free training linked in the description down below as well that'll be a really great fit for you. So whether you want to invest in short-term rental properties and actually build amazing cash flow and long-term wealth by acquiring the assets, buying the properties themselves, or you're looking to earn a full-time income managing other people's properties on Airbnb, we've got some awesome trainings that are linked in the description down below that'll definitely help you out. When you sign up for the trainings, we're also going to send you a few other tools and resources completely for free just to help you get started. Again, the links to sign up are in the description down below, and both trainings and all the tools are completely free. So make sure to register for the trainings, links in the description down below. Now, for finding this person, there's a few things that I want to look for. Number one, I want to look for someone that just has the availability to manage guest communication in the peak times. So the most important times in my experience to have guest communication on lock is going to be in the mornings for a little bit, in the evenings, and on weekends. That's generally going to be the most popular times. And so if you're just hiring one person at the beginning, then you really just want to have someone on evenings, maybe mornings, and on weekends. So you can take 90% of the workload off of your plate, and then you only have to manage guest communication for maybe a couple of hours during the day when it's not going to be as inconvenient for you. So that's the way I recommend structuring it. You can also just hire 2 people right off the bat to get full amount of coverage that you're going to need for, let's say, about 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so that's what you're going to want to do. That's what you want to look for. And reliability and availability are 2 of the most important things. Now, the third most important thing is obviously going to be a really good, strong, fluent comprehension of the language in your area. So for me, that's English. In our area, we have properties in Canada and North America. We're going to be using people that have really, really fluent English communication skills. The fourth thing that I always look for is just good problem-solving skills, because there's always going to be issues that come up from time to time that need solving, and it might just be a non-issue, like the guest just not being able to figure something out, in which case the guest communication person has to have the patience and the wherewithal and the ability to help that guest troubleshoot whatever issue they're facing. Or there might be actual issues like, cleaning not being done up to par, or they're missing something, and they need to be able to think on the fly and actively problem solve and coordinate between the different people on your team, like for example, the cleaners or the maintenance people, to get those problems sorted efficiently and effectively. And then the overall strategy for hiring for this role is I like to use a service called Dynamite Jobs. It's a job board that you can post on. It costs a few $100s to post on there, but in my experience, it is well worth it, because generally I'm looking for people for this role in Eastern Europe. That's where I found for English speaking tends to be really good, because they're in a relatively close time zone. They've got incredible English skills, and they're willing to work for a more reasonable wage than what you could get in most of North America. So I personally think that Eastern Europe is just a fantastic place to hire for, and Dynamite Jobs is purely for remote job posting. All the jobs on there are completely remote, and recently when I posted for this role at our company, we got a couple hundred applications for the role, and we were able to sort through them. Now my process for that is I like to have a basic application after a really detailed and thorough job description. I have a basic application they complete. For the shortlisted candidates, I'll have them submit video applications where it's essentially taking the place of a first round interview, where I'm going to ask them a few different questions, get them to respond in a video. And that is really important, because it allows me to gauge their actual English communication skills. A lot of people can fake it on the written application by using things like ChatGPT or different kind of faking tools like that, to kind of cheat tools like that. at. And so I don't like to rely on that to gauge their English communication skills, but I also don't want to take a whole bunch of time out of my day and do first round interviews with a whole bunch of people and schedule that in. So I find that video interviews for that first round are super, super effective. They can just use Loom or a similar service to record a video interview, send it over, and that's going to take place of a first round interview. Then for my short list, so at this point, it should really be narrowed down to maybe 3 to 5 candidates. That's when I'll actually take the time to do a Zoom interview, ask some specific questions, and make sure they're a good fit for the role before offering them for the position. So again, Dynamite Jobs as a service, I like to use it for that, but you can also use other services like Upwork, potentially even Fiverr, and then there's other job posting boards like Indeed that you can post on as well. I've just personally had the most success so far lately with Dynamite Jobs. So that's my process for getting guest communication completely off of your plate. If you have questions or if you want to learn more about this, then just let me know in the comment section down below. As always, if you want to learn more about how to invest or manage other people's properties, if you want to manage other people's properties or invest in your own for short-term rental and do that successfully and effectively, then check out the free trainings that we have linked in the description down below. Also, last but not least, if you're new to the channel here or you just aren't yet subscribed, I know a lot of you guys watch these videos every single week, but just haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you press that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the 2 new videos we post every single day, or every single week rather, on this channel. And then finally, my last request for you is just going to be to hit that like button. If you like this video, if you got value from it, please give it a like in the section down below there. Other than that, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.